Chag Sameach. So far, so good, everyone? Good afternoon. For those of you that do not know me, I'm Richard Klein. And for those of you that are longtime members, I am Debbie's husband. I'm 64, and I'm honored to have been chosen to share my magical mystery tour of the last 12 years as a member of Temple Bethel. I guess the first question I asked myself was repeated here many times. Are we Jews by birth or Jews by choice? I don't remember when I first learned that I was Jewish, but I do remember that I felt special, denied, challenged, and in some ways more than and less than all at once. When I was very young, Judaism was an obligation filled with ancient, uninspiring, and boring rituals that I was made to participate in. I was born Jewish, and being Jewish was an obligation. It seemed like everyone in my family felt that being Jewish was a chore that we had to get done, much like edging the lawn. My father was frugal, very frugal, and it seemed like, and so he found, or my mom found, the least expensive way for me to achieve my bar mitzvah. They discovered a rabbi, actually a reverend, who taught me in the back of a grass shack in his backyard with an oscillating fan and a yardstick to keep us all in line. Let's just say it wasn't a great way to be brought into the fold. So I memorized all the songs, and I learned to read a bit of Hebrew. Once the big day arrived, I was told that my reverend could not be on the bima with me, and that I would be with a rabbi that I had never met before. I was petrified, and I stumbled through the service, in my memory, as poorly as I possibly could have. But people congratulated me and gave me lots of presents and money, so the memory of how traumatic that experience was quickly faded with my newfound wealth. I was looking for answers, and I kept looking for answers in my 20s when I met my first wife, who was Orthodox. We raised all three of our children kosher, and they attended Jewish day school. We developed a deep sense of community and friendships at that temple that have lasted and grown to this day. But something foundational was still missing. After my 26-year marriage ended, I met Debbie, and the world was illuminated. On our second date, she brought me to TBE for Rosh Hashanah. Judaism finally touched my soul. Cantor Alon greeted us, reached over the aisle, and gave me a big hug. He immediately looked at Debbie and told her that I was a keeper, and he welcomed me to the shul and to our congregation. My other bonuses were my new son, Max, our dear friends, Gail and Elliot, and the rest of this amazing congregation that almost immediately became my extended family. So many wonderful things have happened to me as a result of my involvement with this temple that I feel like I could write a book. There are just a couple of highlights that I'd like to share about how special this temple is. The first one that stands out is when Rabbi Chuck was supposed to officiate our wedding and couldn't make it because his wife Karen had a medical emergency. Cantor Alon and Jody were now like family, so they were invited to our very small wedding, but immediately Cantor Alon volunteered to step up at the very last minute and officiate our ceremony. Then, 2 years later, on our 25th wedding anniversary, then 2 years later, yes, you know, time flies when you're having fun. 2 years later, we were at the temple for the 25th wedding vow renewals of Deborah and Gus here at the temple, and Rabbi Chuck was leading the service, and there was a big huppah in the temple, and Rabbi Chuck grabbed us immediately after the wedding and said, "Wait a minute. I felt terrible about not getting to officiate your wedding, and we have a huppah here. Would you mind staying and allowing me to do the priestly benediction?" Both Debbie and I got chills. We felt like crying. How wonderful was that? Next, we went to Israel with Alon, Jody, the kids, and more than a dozen other people that have become and stayed our very special friends for so many years. I know another trip's coming up. If I can give you some personal advice, figure out how to be there. When Rabbi Cassie came on, I read her drashas online before she started, and I knew that we had a superhero coming in to lead us in what had now become my spiritual home. The way she and Alon work together in the services is absolutely magical. Some people have said that it's a shame about COVID and not being able to attend the temple services in person, but Debbie and I live quite a ways from the shul, so being able to do Facebook, Zoom, and YouTube has truly been a blessing for us. I know that it was a ton of work for our community, and we have actually become more involved as a result of this catastrophe. So here we are at the high holidays, time to pledge our support for our beloved temple, which everyone that I talked to said is like a second home. Tzedakah. Tzedakah is a gift. But I need you to know that in the case of this temple, I could never give even half of what I have already received. And I'm sure that most of you feel the same. So this year, dig a little bit deeper. Take a deep, heartfelt breath and get out your pledge cards and honor the blessings that this magical place provides us each and every day of every year.